welcome back to Maple and Roots.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Maple and Roots. If you don't know me, my name is Bethany. I'm a homeschool mom. I kind of consider myself like I might know what I'm doing, kind of don't. But here we go anyway. You guys have asked, and I've heard over many years, my kids are fighting. If you're new here, every time I record, some sort of tragedy happens upstairs. Usually somebody's playing like a tiger when their sibling wants them to be a bear, and this causes great tension in our house. Anyway, things are very real here. They're very real. Welcome back. I'm going to slow down a second. Welcome back. How have you guys been? How has your quarantine, your stay-at-home time, is your state starting to lift things? Like, if they are, drop me a line, let me know. Like, what's going on where you guys are? We are still very much staying home. We are kind of selectively seeing people that we're close with. And my husband did recently preach at a church, but it was all like live streamed. It wasn't like actual, like, people there. So how have you been? It has been a really interesting time for us. We have a lot kind of going on behind the scenes with our family right now, but God is good, and we are kind of excited for this next season in our life, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to share. Right now there's nothing to share, but hopefully soon we'll be able to share something. So you guys have asked, and I've heard over many years, basically since I started homeschooling, about Life of Fred. So I discovered Life of Fred, oh my goodness, I don't even know, probably on like a Facebook group or something like that, probably a Charlotte Mason type Facebook group. And I had seen it quite often and didn't know what it was. Before I started using Life of Fred, I was trying to use Matthew C, but like our budget was really low, so I was never able to like accumulate like all the tactile things. And then I used a little bit of Abeka math, but my daughter was very young, so I don't even know what we did from it. I feel like with kids, like there's a lot of grace when they're young in their math. Like you don't really always need a curriculum. You can kind of very easily teach numbers and basic addition and stuff like that. Someone's crying. Anyway, so I have used Life of Fred virtually, basically, I mean, those like small bits, but basically from the beginning. So I started in Apples with my oldest daughter at about first or second grade, depending, and I have used it ever since. And if you don't know anything about our story, we had a 14-year-old move in with us a number of years ago, and shortly after, I began homeschooling her as well with a curriculum. We kind of tailored curriculum to her, and because I was already familiar with Life of Fred, and I knew what she was doing, she was kind of like doing like a virtual schooling, pre-algebra, and that was not working. It was not working. And so I had this really frustrated kid that I needed to figure out something where she could really understand the math, but also like kind of de-school from math, like if that makes sense, because she had been in the public education before, and she was just really having a hard time with it. So I bought a Life of Fred book for her, and I was really excited, and I was like, here, use this. And she, like, in a very dramatic fashion, sorry girl, I know you're watching this, you're gonna be mad at me, she opened it and she was like, nope, no, I'm not doing, like, I can't do this. Like, this is hard. So I was like, what do I do? So I emailed Stanley Schmidt, the author, and I was like, hey, I have this kid, and this is kind of where she's at. Like, where should I start her? And I'm not even kidding. I emailed him on a Friday afternoon, and he emailed me within like 2 hours back. And we kind of had this series of emails going back and forth where he helped me place her. And so I ordered another book and got it in and placed her perfectly where she was at. And from the beginning of being placed where she was at, she just shot and like went great. So she's now somebody's really crying. She is now graduated from high school and in her first year of university, and excelling and doing great. She's not going to be a math major or anything like that, and that's okay because neither am I. Hold on. And we're back. Raising tweens, it's not for the faint of heart. Anyway, I have no idea where I was. Someone else is yelling and crying. Okay. We're back, maybe. I don't know. We might have to not be back. I don't know. Anyway, I have no idea again where I was. Oh, yeah. So anyway, so we were able to complete high school math with her using Life of Fred. And some of the questions with Life of Fred that I normally get, or like a lot of misconception, is that it's not a full, like, complete program. And I think it's because we have it so ingrained in our minds that at 7 years old, our kids should just be doing drills and drills and drills and drills and drills. This obviously is a very different approach to math. So if you're not familiar with how Life of Fred is set up, let me just show you. This is the very first. So he's got elementary series, intermediate series. It goes into like high school math, and then he actually has university level math. And it's very rich. And it's a completely different concept and way of teaching math that I don't think anybody else is doing, or none that I've heard of up until this point. And it's very much one of the reasons why Charlotte Mason groups or people who are really into Charlotte Mason usually talk about Life of Fred is because it's basically kind of like literature-based math. Or so it's basically you're reading this story and then you're getting these math concepts in it, even all the way up through like the high school level. The first one is this one, which I realize it's going to be backwards. Maybe there's like a way to like make it not backwards. I probably don't have the skill set to do that. Obviously, this is a very well loved book. It really is a very well loved book. Actually, I don't even want to show you this book because it is disgusting on the inside. Hold on, please. Let me grab another one that hopefully is less. Okay, so this is Life of Fred ice cream, and it's easy to like know which one you're going into next because it goes in the elementary ones up through the intermediate ones goes in alphabetical order. So you have apples, butterflies, cats, dogs, so on. So this is Life of Fred ice cream, and what it does is it has a story. It's a pencil. It has a story, and it's about this silly 5-year-old math professor. Who's basically orphaned, and he teaches math, and it's basically about his life and his adventures and all of those things. But as you're reading the story in each chapter, it has all these math concepts in it. Each chapter, this is obviously an elementary school book, and you're probably not going to be able to see this. You have your chapter, and it's just like a few pages long, but there's a lot of silly illustrations in it. What I love about the elementary series is that it starts teaching how to tell time from the very first book. And you're not necessarily being like, okay, like figure it out, or this is how you do it. It's just like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. Cool. You look on that like little clock, and you can talk about how it's 6 o'clock. My kid is yelling again. But what's interesting, so number one, I have never seen another like story-based math like this. And I actually found I think it's really helpful for the kids like to be learning like a lot of like word problems through it, because like in reality, in our life, right, most of the time when we're doing math, like as an adult, our job isn't math, right? It's usually basically word problems. So I think it's really cool because it helps them really like from the very beginning, like learn that. But what I also love about this series is that it teaches like all of these math concepts from a very early age. So in the very first book, it starts with algebra, like literally. So you've got your little like 6-year-old or your 7-year-old, and you're starting this book, and it's starting with algebra. So it teaches it. So the very first like equation that they learn, or it's 3x plus 4x equals 7x, right? And then another really great thing that I love about it, especially in the elementary series, is that like one book is usually like the first book is all dedicated in adding up to 7. So you learn all the different ways that you can add up to 7, and then the next book is adding all the different ways up to 9, and he builds on it like that. And so, but also like you see in those elementary school books, it's like he's literally introducing concepts about geometry, trigonometry, calculus, whatever the heck that is, all of these things, and it starts building. So that way, when they get to be in 10th grade and they're given this equation, they can look at it and be like, oh, like cool, like I've done this before. I think it might be, I will look really fast, in this ice cream book. I think it is actually in the one before it. There's some pretty like advanced algebra stuff in it, like, but in simplicity for, a 9-year-old. I don't remember what it was, but when I first saw it, I was like, I have never seen this before in my life because I didn't do advanced algebra. So I just think it's like really cool because it's from a very early age. They're just learning these things. And then once they're ready to do more of the advanced math in it, they're comfortable with it. They've seen it. And it's not such a shock. And it's not like, why do I have this weird like sum sign? Like, what is this? What is it even for? Because when they're in 5th grade, it's explaining what that sum sign is and what it does and all of those things in a very practical like way to understand it. So that's one thing that I really love about it. The other thing with Life of Fred is the work itself, especially in the elementary age, it's not like a lot and it's not overwhelming. If you're not a math person, and I am not a math person, and I have at least one child who is not a math person or two, it can be really overwhelming when you're in these elementary books and it gives you, you have to do like, 50 equations and stuff like that. Particularly for one child or, 2 children, that just does not work. Like it's too overwhelming. And I know for me, as a child, that was overwhelming. I think like one of my most traumatizing things in elementary school was the like math drill where you had to do it like fast enough and like that kind of thing. And everybody is done all around you. And I'd be like, yeah, no, this is not happening. So it kind of takes that stress and that anxiety away. And it also makes fun math, it also makes math fun and practical, like easy to understand. Oh, this is why I'm doing math. Cool, got it. So basically you'll have from anywhere from 1, which is pretty rare that you have 1, usually 3 to like 8 questions. And he doesn't even call it like a review or anything like that. He literally just calls it your turn to play, and he's got them. And so, oh, look at that. There's that advanced algebra thingy. I don't know if you can see it. I had no idea what that was, but I figured it out. And then all you do is you flip over the page, and you've got the rest of it, or you have your answers on the other side. So the author suggests like he really wants the kids to learn to be like self-sufficient with it so that they're doing the questions and then they check over their answers. My kids don't really work that way. So they do their questions and I'm kind of like right there with them. And then we go over the answers together. It just works better for our family. One of the other things that I don't know if this book, some of the books between jelly beans and apples, they'll have like, it's called like just a row practice. So when they're really memorizing those multiplication facts and the addition and everything like that, it'll give them about like 6 or so extra practice to do. So it's not heavy. You can always, as your parent, if you feel like your child needs extra practice or it's, you really want to like drill that in, you can like go on Pinterest and print out a sheet and like do it that way, and then once they hit Life of Fred Honey, is where he actually will have the students, you can either purchase them, but he really suggests that they make them themselves, their own flashcards with multiplication facts. And then every day before they start their chapter, they're supposed to just go over these multiplication facts until they get them. I love the way that he like words it, because he'll be like, like, stop, you need to like earn your way. Like you need to earn to do this chapter, so like let's work on these multiplication facts. And it's a fun way. We've also done things like sometimes those honey cards can get like a little bit redundant. So we'll have the girls, they might play math war, which is just like war, but with multiplication or addition games and stuff like that. It's a fun time to do that. And, games and music are like a really wonderful way to memorize these math facts, especially if, like myself or my daughter, it's a struggle to memorize these math facts. So sometimes we need like silly poems. And he actually teaches you how to do, like he teaches the students how to do that as well, which I think is great. So then when you get to like further in, and I don't have my high school books here because I think that they're packed away. So I'm gonna just show you what I have. It gets to be a little bit more. You see the font is just a little bit smaller, but again, it's like 2 to 3 pages, and then like this particular chapter just has 3 questions. But I don't remember. In one of these books, like once you get further on, he's got these things called like a bridge. So you might get like a series of chapters and then you have like your bridge. And so what happens is like in your bridge, there's like a certain amount that you need to get correct to move on to the next one. And if you don't, then you basically kind of have to keep going like until you get it correct, which is really great because, when you're older or when you're in this higher level math, it's a lot more that is like kind of coming at you. So just to make sure that you're remembering everything and you're really grasping everything. It also helps like further down with high school credits and exams and whatever that you do and however you do that, to have that information and really knowing like, okay, they've really earned this algebra credit. I also love like in their like middle school and intermediate, not the intermediate series, but so once you get to like pre-algebra, so he's got like several pre-algebra books. So there's like pre-algebra 0, pre-algebra 1. I think there might be like a pre-algebra 2, and then it goes into like algebra, advanced algebra. I know that there's been a little bit, he's done a couple different things where he's revised some of those books too, so you'd have to just look updated on his website. But what's really cool is that when you get to like pre-algebra 0, he starts adding things like physics or biology or other things. And so it might not be enough. Like if you're using these in middle school, obviously you're not going to use them for a high school credit. If you're using them in high school, then you can probably kind of combine like the biology with another one and that kind of thing and give a credit from that. So that's a really good thing too, because you're just, it's kind of like making this whole world of math like connect, if that makes sense. So, and the story just continues. So you still have your 8th grader or whatever who's reading this and is learning the story. But, and you're all the equations and all the things that they need to learn, but it's a really good way to remember it. And I just remember, having this high schooler who had, was coming at this place where she wasn't understanding the other curriculum that we were doing. And it was very difficult to like, okay, like I get it, because like math is being explained so differently to me. And that kind of like really solidified my like, I'm a believer in Life of Fred. Like, I think it's really awesome. And so now that I've done a lot of the high school things and a little bit of the middle school things, I have a gap of middle school time that I haven't done fairly shortly. Probably in the next 2 or 3 years, I'll have completed most of the books, except for once you get to the higher level maths, like super high level maths. So I just have that small gap in between there. So what I can say is like from coming up all the way, my oldest daughter starting the intermediate series to, the higher high school ones, is that it is most definitely a complete curriculum. You do not need anything else. You don't need to do lots of drills or anything like that, because it is a buildable curriculum. So they're starting when they're young, and he's building and he's building and he's building. And once you get to these upper elementary school books like Jelly Beans, you go, I don't know why they're screaming. You go like, okay, like this makes sense. I understand where he's going with this. And after doing all the things every day and what you need to do, you'll see that they get it, and that it doesn't need any more. A couple things to know: this is not Common Core math. So if that's something that you're passionate about or that you need, or I don't think you would need for your state, but this is not Common Core math. So which is great for us who are teaching it. So So that, but it's just something to keep in mind that this is not Common Core. This is not. And I believe that the author has like talked about that on his website. The next thing is, I highly suggest if you're going to order this, go directly to his website. I will link it below. I usually just type in like Life of Fred, and I think it's under like Stanley Schmidt, and he like talks all about it. I prefer to just order directly from him. I know that he can sell on Amazon and stuff like that, and you can obviously buy it from other retailers. I love his curriculum so much that I want him to get the whole amount of money that he can get for them, because I just think that they're so awesome, and he's obviously, was great working with him to place, our oldest daughter. So yes, I just feel like I get on here and ramble, and then I like put all the videos together, and I'm like, this is like a half hour of me talking about math books. Anyway, Life of Fred, wonderful, a complete series. If you have questions, drop them below. I will do my best to answer them. Yeah, they're beautiful. Also, like, they're like really nice quality. Like, just so you guys know, like, obviously you can see like how glowy that is, but this is also like really beautiful quality. And you saw kind of the grossness of our Life of Fred apples, but now, well, now it's on my third going into fourth kid using it. Well, my fourth kid won't be using it anytime soon, but he will eventually. But we are in general as homeschoolers a little bit harder on our books than other people, because I'm just not that picky. So like if they're eating like a jar of pickles while they're doing their math, then the pickles get on the book, and then it just gets passed on to the sibling. I'm pretty sure that that's nail polish, actually. So there's that. Anyway, if you guys have questions, let me know. I obviously can't really compare this to other math curriculums. Well, I can a little bit, because I did Saxon math grade 6, and it was horrifying because I'm just not a math person. I'm sure it's great for other people. For me, it just wasn't a good thing, and I can tell by most of my kids it would not be a good fit. I think one it would be fine for. But I don't have a lot to compare it to, because this is all that we have used, and as long as it continues. Oh, that actually brings me one more thing, is that I have very different learners in my house. So my oldest daughter, my next daughter, and then like my son, who have now used this, and then my high schooler, they all like learn very, very, very differently. So I have one who has to work a little bit harder. I have another one who just goes fast, quick, and kind of gets the concepts really quickly. And my son, I think he might be a math genius, but I can't tell because he's 6. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, it has worked for all of those, including for a dyslexic learner. So, A plus. I highly recommend it. I highly rate it. And that's it. So thank you for joining me as in my rant about math books. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today, and I think I just said this on my rant of math. And next time, I hope to bring you a review and just an overview of Cottage Press. I don't really like calling it reviews, because like I feel like curriculum is so utterly personal to you and to your children, that what works amazing for one person and one child might not work for another family. So it's hard to be like, this is a bad curriculum, unless you have some pretty big moral conflicts. There are curriculums that I would choose not to use, because maybe I want faith-based, or like a evangelical type curriculum, and not a you know what I mean? So like, but like, I'm not gonna be like, this is a bad curriculum. I think most curriculums that are out there are fairly decent. They just might not be a good fit for you or for your family. At least I would hope. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have used a lot of curriculums, but I'm not like a, expert. Anyway, again, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for tolerating my children screaming and interrupting, as they always do. And like, they're really not loud screaming kids. Like we try to just have like a really like calm, like gentle household, unless this is recording or we're on the phone, or right now on a Zoom call. So Anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe. Drop me comments below. Follow me at Maple and Roots on Instagram. And don't forget to ring the bell to get notifications for my next video and subscribe.